The most painful thing in life is that it is over before it starts. Xiaoyuer loves to dance. To my deposit that was emptied by me before it even started. The sky, which was originally windy and sunny, suddenly became gloomy. In front of the gate of a villa in the suburbs, a father and daughter were vying to blush. Don't talk about it. When your mother divorced me back then, she had already said that she only wanted you, and your future affairs will have nothing to do with me. The middle-aged man in a suit and shoes turned towards a 1.5-meter tall man. The little girl roared. You. The little girl was itchy with anger, but for the sake of her relatives, she had to bear it. My mother has been gone for many years, and you still used her to talk about it. You are still a man. I don't care. You don't care if you don't give the money today. The little girl bit her lips tightly when she spoke. If it weren't for her grandfather's serious illness, she would not bother to come to this man. It's strange to say that the family has been really unsuccessful in the past few years. Either one or the other happened. I think it's beautiful. My family's money is not the wind blowing. You little girl, you dare to come to my house to make trouble? Come here, give me her away. Just when the little girl was afraid to leave, she was suddenly pushed to the ground by a woman. No. I want. A figure flew towards the fallen figure of the little girl. It's a pity that her movements are still a step slower. The little girl's head just hit the stone, and all of a sudden blood poured out. If you are angry with a child, let's go in. Just when the two were about to enter the house, the man who was following the little girl also arrived, but when they saw the little girl who fell on the ground, he flew like a thunder. Lu Jianmin, you who have suffered thousands of swords, a child, you have to get rid of it. If you don't give money, you won't give money. If you hurt your child like this, you will be struck by lightning. My daughter, my uncle said that my uncle will find a way. Why are you so stupid? The man tremblingly stretched out his hand and covered the little girl's head. Looking at the blood that keeps flowing out, his face is full of tears. I think you are a big brother. Keep your mouth clean, or I will let the dog bite. Lu Jianmin heard it and rushed to the man immediately. You still let dogs bite people? Look at how you hurt your nanny. Don't forget that my sister was forced to death by you. You are hurting her only daughter like this. You are not afraid that she will come to look for her at night. You. Looking at the hoarse elder brother and the dying daughter, the woman's tears flowed down. It was her cowardice that harmed the family. Who said he was forced to die? I have a poor endurance, and I blame my man. This meal can be eaten indiscriminately, but I can't talk nonsense, otherwise I will let you not mix in this nanchange. I had already walked to the yard. Beautiful woman, looking arrogantly at the two people on the ground. You are the vixen. If it weren't for you, my sister would not die. The man was really furious, and a mouthful of blood came out directly. The death of his sister was originally the pain of his family. Uncle, didn't you say that my mother went far away? My mother can't die, it's impossible to die. The little girl who had been fantasizing about her mother coming home when she heard the words of her uncle was suddenly dizzy past. Brother, daughter, don't. A stern voice resounded through the sky. In the sky that no one can see, the shadow that has been floating for many years has directly become a dust in the sky. No. In a thatched house in a small mountain village, a girl was muttering to herself, her face flushed. Luo Ziahua, if you get up to my old lady, a man will let you leave your father, mother, and me. The girl who was still immersed in the nightmare frowned upon hearing the violent voice. This is really a leak in the house. Her eldest brother and daughter fainted right now. She was trying to find a way to save people. Unexpectedly, there was a whispering voice in her ear. You dead girl, hurry up and get up for my old lady, get up. Before Luo Ziahua opened her eyes, she was shaken again. Wandering for so many years, her body can't be touched by others at all. This shaking made her heart, liver, spleen, lungs, and kidneys start to vibrate. and her chest began to turn. Oh, oh. Luo Xiahua lay on the edge of the bed, vomiting hard, really wishing to vomit everything in her stomach. I think you are too fateful, you can't die like this. The girl spit out, while gently patting Luo Xiahua's back with her hand. Dead? Luo Xiahua's brain crashed, and she didn't understand what the people next to her were saying. It's just that, before she could see clearly what was going on in front of her, the roar of Hedong Lion came in her ears again. You still want to die, you reading www.yuyuganshu.com, I tell you, if you dare to die again, my old lady will let you die. Not only will you not buy a coffin for you, I will take your body to the mountain to feed Lao Hua. The girl shed tears as she spoke. Because she had a high fever, Luo Xiahua was weak, and weakly opened her eyes. In vagueness, she saw a girl in a checkered shirt. This girl was not pretty. Her face was a Chinese character. Two big thick black and bright braids hung on both sides of her shoulders. Not only did she not appear capable, but she did. The face appears bigger. She is very familiar with this girl, but Tang Xiadai, who grew up with her, is truly as the name suggests, with a personality like a boy. It's just that she remembered that she was married to the Lishan by her stepmother. How could she be with her? Could it be? You won't be really scared by me, are you? Tang Xiadai saw Luo Xiahua looking at her silently, and immediately reached out and touched her forehead. It's still a bit burnt, I don't know if the lady has dug up herbs. Brother, why are you here? It took a long time for Luo Xiahua to find her own voice. But, because the body is too weak, when I say it, it is weak. I am not here, where am I just walked for a while, and you will die, then if I go a little bit further, will I not see you for the last time when I come back? I said you are too. What is good about Lu Jianmin, if my aunt doesn't agree, you don't marry. This is from ancient times to the present, which is not a matchmaker's word from your parents, you have to do the opposite. Now it's fine, I see you dare to threaten them. Tang Xiadai had an expression of hatred for iron and steel. Hey! Luo Xiahua only felt that she was not on the same line as her. Why? It's fine if you know what's wrong, you don't know, you fainted and you are still lying on the bed. Auntie is looking for a herbalist to give you medicine. Your eldest brother and second elder brother still don't know about you. If you know something, you won't be beating you to blame. Hearing the girl beeping again, Luo Xiahua closed her eyes directly, her head was dizzy, her eyelids were getting heavier and heavier, she didn't have the energy to think about other things. This girl, beeping here all the time, her whole head feels buzzing, like a fly whirling around her ear. I said you too. What is good about Lu Jianmin? There are a lot of people in our village who are better than him. The uncle and aunt will not let you marry him. That is also for your own good. You said that we are a countryman and we marry to their city. Go inside, if it's good for you, if it's bad for you, then you have to be a maid. It's better to marry in the village and be comfortable. I didn't expect that. I closed my eyes. Tang Xiadai was still talking, Luo Xiahua had no choice but to pretending to sleep, he turned a little sideways. But I was thinking in my heart, this girl is too eloquent, anyone can say silly and vigorously. Sigma? Xiadai, thank you for your hard work today. Just after Luo Xiahua fell asleep, a short woman dressed in coarse grey clothes and raised a curtain of flowers and walked in. Because I walked too quickly, I was a little bit pant when talking. Madam, you're being polite. It's easy for me. It's just that Xiahua woke up a bit and never woke up again. She was a little hot before, and she just broke out in sweat, and it seems to be much better. Tang Xiadai touched it uneasy. Luo Xiahua's head. She is also very fate, if someone just happened to pass by the river, she would undoubtedly die today, but the savior does not know who it is. You sit here for a while, I will ask your uncle to cook some noodle soup. The woman was anxious and touched her daughter's head like a girl. I don't need it anymore, I can go back to eat. I have to go back to feed the pigs, or my mother will come back. Tang Xiaodai touched her head embarrassedly. Mother, I don't mean anything else, Xiaohua is my good sister, and it's nothing for me to help. Tang Xiaodai, like Luo Xiaohua, is the youngest daughter in the family, but the status of the two in the family is very different. Luo Xiaohua has 3 elder brothers and 1 elder sister. The elder sister is the second child. She is the youngest. For this old daughter, the husband and wife love her very much. Although Tang Xiaodai is the youngest daughter in the family, there are 3 older sisters on it. She is the youngest. Since the second child, the 4 sisters have the word D in their names, but no matter how they summoned, this younger brother just didn't come. It is conceivable that she ended up in disappointment time and time again. Here, her parents were so unwelcome to her. Then you go back quickly, the aunt will not keep you anymore. When Xiaohua wakes up, I will invite you to my room for dinner. If it weren't for you, this girl really doesn't know that there is still this tone. The woman said as she spoke. While taking out the key from his trouser pocket, he opened the cabinet and took out a biscuit wrapped in several layers of plastic paper. Take this back and eat it. Brother Xiaohua bought it for her from the city. Not long after he bought it, it smells pretty good. You can eat it quietly later. Don't let your mother see it. It's yours. I originally wanted to keep her to eat at her own home, but now it's late, and she is afraid that she will be scolded by her family. Maddie, it's so embarrassing. Who else is Xiaohua and I? Let alone take care of it, it's okay to take care of God. You child, what are you polite with the aunt? You are my Xiaohua's lifesaver. From now on, I will be useful to the aunt, just say it. For Tang Xiaodai, Luo's mother is really grateful. The two of them also stepped out as they talked. After the room calmed down, Luo Xiaohua on the bed slowly opened her eyes. In fact, she woke up when the woman came in, but she didn't dare, and was afraid to open her eyes. She was afraid that all this was a dream. When the dream wakes up, everything is gone. Looking at the wall made of mud bricks, as well as the newspapers and pictorials on the wall, Luo Xiaohua turned her head happily, and when she looked around, she became happy. On the edge of the bed is a red bed, on the edge is a mahogany box, and then there is a high semicircular wooden barrel, and then there is a door made of curtains, and then there is a red wardrobe with a sticker on the door of the wardrobe. Full of postcards, there are martial arts stars she once liked, and those beautiful stars. Got up and got out of bed and touched the things in the room all over. The familiar touch made her dare to believe at this moment that she really came back. Luo Xiaohua herself doesn't know how to explain this magical change, especially when she is back now, she doesn't know anything. Hearing Tang Xiaodai said that she committed suicide for a man, reading www.yunsha.com, she remembered that she had committed suicide once. Why did she commit suicide? She has no memory of the accident, which is really annoying. Standing next to the cupboard, took out the tea bottle from the tea tray, and after taking a sip of water, I felt that the whole person was more comfortable, so I planned to go outside. It's just that I was staggered by someone who rushed in before I went out. Hua, why are you standing at the door? I heard people say you committed suicide for Lu Jianmin. What is going on? The woman's sharp voice gave Luo Xiaohua another headache. You won't be stunned, are you? What's wrong with this? Seeing Luo Xiaohua lying on the ground without saying a word, the woman started to make trouble again. Luo Xiaohua rubbed her temples. When she came back, all she met were such noisy people. Sister-in-law, why are you here? Hearing the scream, Zhu Huifang rushed over from the kitchen, only to hit a familiar figure after entering the door. Hua, why are you lying on the ground? The ground is too cold and get up quickly. What if you catch a cold again? Zhu Huifang was anxious. In their village, several died because of fever, and some were burned silly. I usually get a cold or a fever, and I go to the herbalist to grab some herbs and boil it back. The only thing that doesn't work is hard resistance. Therefore, accidents abound. A cold here is like a big enemy, and most people can't get sick. Actually, there are hospitals in the city, but most people are reluctant to go to see it, because it is too expensive, so Shinobu will pass anyway. For example, Luo Xiahua had a fever this time, but her face was red and her ears were red. Zhu Huifang also gave her a physical cooling, and then went to the herbalist to get some medicine. Luo family has a natural fear of catching a cold and fever, that is, Luo Dashan's seventh sister died because of the fever. At that time, the whole person was burnt and confused, and his lips were dry like the land in June, and they looked scarce. At that time, Zhu Huifang had already married, and for this 9-year-old sister-in-law, she also looked distressed. However, she was married at that time. Her mother-in-law didn't take the money to go to the hospital, and she was powerless, so she could only help her pour some water and wipe her body. It's a pity that none of these are useful, and the flower-like girl still goes like this. She also knew that her mother-in-law was under great pressure at that time. There were 7 children in the family, 4 boys and 3 girls, 3 of them were married, and 4 of them were studying. Not to mention the usual expenses, that is, studying. It's too expensive, and getting married, which is another big head. The mother-in-law is in short supply and can't afford the money. She has no right to blame her for the death of my sister-in-law. Only after this, her child, she paid special attention to this aspect, never let the child be frozen, otherwise it would be troublesome to catch a cold. This is not afraid of getting sick, just afraid of getting sick and having no money for doctors. Mom, I'm fine, why didn't I see my father? Luo Xiahua touched her mother's warm body, and remembered only Tang Xiadai's words. At that time, she was very groggy and her mind was a little unclear. Only then did she remember what she said. She seemed to say that her father had fainted. Your father, he is sleeping in the house, I will call him later. Of course Luo Xiahua didn't believe her mother's words, especially her mother's dodge look made her feel strange. Your dad vomited blood because of your anger. He's still lying on the bed right now. You said you too. I don't want the marriage that I told you about. You have to marry a city man. You tell me how you fate. Thinner than paper, but the heart is higher than the sky. Why do we go to the countryside to marry in the city? Are we going to be rich wives or maids? Before Luo Xiahua could ask, her aunt said unceremoniously. When was speaking, his entire face was even more distorted. This angry look was like teaching his own daughter. Sister-in-law, I made fish soup in the kitchen. You can help me to check it out. The child just got a fever and got sweaty on his clothes. Let me change her first. Paying attention to it, even if it's something bigger than yourself is wrong, you can't refute it at will. Therefore, even if the sister-in-law Yang Ju said it hard to hear, Zhu Huifang felt uncomfortable, but she did not blame her. You are accustomed to her. You are a lady at home, and when you go to her in-law's house, you can only be a maid's life. After Yang Ju went out, Zhu Huifang looked at her daughter with embarrassment. What your auntie said, don't take it to your heart. Her person is like this. She is not forgiving, but her heart is good. In order to prevent her daughter from responding, Zhu Huifang said all the things that violated her heart. Luo Xiahua also has her own yardstick in her heart for the auntie and her own mother. It's just that she feels that there seems to be one of the most important figures that has not appeared. Is the one she committed suicide, but whether this suicide is still to be determined. She was dizzy before and didn't remember her suicide, but now she remembers it. Mom, I know, don't worry about you either, I won't let you worry about it in the future, I'll go see Dad. She is the old daughter of Mom and Dad, the eldest brother's son is already 10 years old, and she is only at the age of 18, the difference between the 2 aunts and nephews is 8 years old. One can imagine how old her parents are. Your dad has me, so you just need to rest, don't have to worry about it, but don't be angry with your dad, she is also for your own good, in fact, that kid from the Xiao family is really good, but mom sees yes, that kid's brains are bright. I heard that doing reselling business in the city has made a lot of money. The family where Luo's father proposed to Luo Xiahua was the first person in the village to do a reselling business. Back then, it was said to be a speculation. As a result, others caught up with the good times and made a lot of money. The TV and bicycles at home were equipped with TVs and bicycles. Now, the house has also been built into a big blue brick house. Many people in this village want to marry the girl to their house. Luo Xiahua has never seen the son of the Xiao family, but he has heard of his great achievements. That man is a legend in their village. Not only made his own life at a young age, but also because of his family background, his parents died when he was young, and he was raised by his grandparents. As soon as he graduated from high school, he began to do opportunistic things with his uncle in the city, using his flexible mind to make the business bigger and bigger. If Luo Xiahua remembers correctly, then the man started a real estate business in the city again, and it can be described as a beautiful scene in the entire Nanshan. It's just such a person. When he was young, he was bullied and grown up. Without his parents, the villagers excluded him, and his uncles and uncles banned the fields and the contents of his house. Get it to your own home. However, he didn't do anything within the scope of revenge, and even repaying grievances with virtue. This has also become a good story. Mom, I know, but I still don't want to talk about marriage issues. Will you let me think about it and give you an answer? For Lu Jianmin, she would never be able to marry him in this life, but she didn't want that man to be so cheap. Didn't he want to return to the city? Not only did she make him unable to return, she would also be ruined and run away from their village. I'll tell you, you don't think about that, Lu Jianmin. Not only is your dad not optimistic about him, I am not optimistic about him. Although Lu Jianmin is from the city, the husband and wife are both people who have lived for most of their lives. They can see clearly who is true and who is false. Let's see if dad is awake. Luo Xiahua's throat stagnated. If her parents were able to object like this in the past, then she would have no way out at all. However, she can't blame her parents, because she forced her parents to agree with death. Therefore, she has no right to blame her parents at all. To blame is to blame herself for not knowing people clearly and for believing other people's rhetoric. Go, your dad is in a bad mood, don't provoke him, otherwise. It's really Fu Wushuan that disaster will never come singly. Her daughter has such a thing, and her husband collapsed suddenly. This is something outside the house. People need to do it, what if there is an accident? Mom, don't worry, I won't make my father angry. Luo Xiahua showed a reluctant smile. Although Luo's family is not a wealthy home, because Luo Dashan knows how to do it, the house is still quite large, with a main house and a side house. There is a stove and pigsty behind, and there are chickens in the yard. There are 5 bedrooms in the main house, 3 bedrooms and 2, one for food, and one for sundries. There are 4 rooms in the partial house, which are occupied by the 4 older brothers and sisters above Luo Xiahua. But after the second sister got married, her nephew lived in her room, and the niece lived in the room next to Luo Xiahua. If the second sister came back, she would live with her, and the brother-in-law would sleep with the third brother. The aunt and niece slept with the niece. Luo Xiahua, as the youngest member of the family, naturally sleeps in the main room and is still on the sunny side. So, she left her room and walked to the room of mom and dad on the opposite side. There are really no special utility rooms in the countryside. Every room is full of things, and every corner is full of things. Walking to the house of mom and dad, looking at the complicated furnishings inside, Luo Xiahua still feels a little bit sour. The situation at home is not good, but mom and dad have never forced their siblings to do anything. It's just that she put a foot in her marriage. Although it was useless in the end, Her parents had indeed opposed it back then, and she compromised only because of her persistence. "Dad, are you in better health? Would you like Grandpa Sue to come and see it?" Grandpa Sue is the herbalist in the village. Anyone who gets sick is always to see him. However, besides this herbalist, there is also a health clinic in the village now, but the doctor in the health clinic is a Western doctor. Everyone is not used to this injection and taking medicine. Generally, if you feel uncomfortable, you should find a herbalist to grab some herbal medicine and boil it back. No, what do you spend the money for? How can this person eat grains without suffering any pain? Just sleep more. Turning around and seeing his daughter coming in, Luo Dashan turned his head directly to the side, but he heard after she spoke, she got up and sat up. "Dad, I see that you still feel a little uncomfortable, or let's go and see it. If you are sick, you have to treat it and you can't delay it." Luo Xiahua also feels a headache. Obviously, her parents always ask them to stop colds, but it's another matter to rest things on yourself. "I'm fine, you can ask your mother to boil some water to drive me away from the cold. And you, also drink more soup. Although it is summer, it is still a bit cold when you fall into the river." Luo Xiahua burst into tears in an instant, pitying the hearts of her parents. He clearly thought she had committed suicide, but what he said did say that she fell into the river. This was not only for saving her face, but also for the sake of her reputation. Compared to the chirping ant, my father really loves her. Does it hurt? You go back to the house and ask your mother to go to the health clinic for the doctor to come and see. Luo Dashan panicked when he saw his daughter's tears flowing, and a pair of rough hands gently wiped her tears. Luo Xiahua couldn't help crying even when she heard it. She really felt sorry for the parents of the world. She just asked her father to let the herbalist see it, and he thought it was costly. When she feels uncomfortable, let her go to the health clinic. How can she not be moved by the contrast? "Oh, what the is going on, my child, come here quickly, Huifang, come in." Because the stove was behind, Luo Dashan shouted several times before hearing Zhu Huifang's answer. "Dad, I'm okay." Luo Xiahua calmed down her mood several times before letting herself become normal. "Is it because my heart still hurts? I told you to go and take a look. You have to go, now it's okay, you have to go only if you can't stand it." Zhu Huifang rushed over as soon as he agreed. "I'm fine, look at Huahua, she seems to be a little uncomfortable." Luo Dashan got out of the bed as he spoke, took his army green rubber shoes from the bed and put them on. "Mom, I'm fine. I'll cook dinner. You accompany my dad to the health clinic. I think he still feels a little uncomfortable. Don't let his minor illness become a serious illness. If something goes wrong, what should I do? Dad is the pillar of the family, and all these affairs are arranged by him. I will just go by myself, your mother will cook, you should go back to the house and lie down." Luo Dashan also understands his body, and in order not to worry people, he also decided to take a look. "Mom, please go quickly. Don't go home with Aunt Wu. As far as the meals for the three of us are concerned, I can still manage it. 3 brothers and 4 brothers, one follows others to learn carpentry, the other follows others to learn tailoring, and the days to go home are uncertain. Therefore, there are only 3 of her in the family today. Then you have a better life. We will come back as soon as we go." Wu Ping of the health clinic was the first group of college students in the village, because in response to the national call, she returned to the village health clinic and became a barefoot doctor. The village clinic is located not far from the village entrance. Wu Ping is the main person in charge of the clinic. In fact, barefoot doctors, like farmers, have no wages. Therefore, when there is no one to see a doctor, she farms in the fields, and when someone wants to see a doctor, she goes to the health clinic. In fact, the village health center also implements the cooperative medical system, and only charges the cost of medicines for the people who see a doctor, and all other expenses are waived. Therefore, there are indeed a couple of illnesses and 2 pains, and many people still go to the health clinic. The children of the poor take care of their families early, even as the youngest member of the Luo family. Luo Xiahua has been doing housework since she was a child. Came to the stove and smelled the fragrant fish soup, his stomach began to growl. However, she was not selfish enough to drink soup herself, but started cooking. The autumn harvest has not yet arrived, and there is not much food at home, so in order to be able to eat the autumn harvest, I usually cook rice with either sweet potatoes or yam, or pumpkin. Luo Xiahua couldn't be more familiar with this way of cooking. Thinking that mom and dad were frightened today, she planned to cook a delicious meal potato and bacon braised rice. Cut a small piece of bacon hanging on the beam, after washing, cut into dices, and then cut the planed potatoes into lumps. Then there is the fire. Since there is no wall between the door of the stove and the stove, it is easy to get the ashes into the pot if you accidentally burn the fire. However, this kind of stove is also convenient, and one person can handle cooking. When the big iron pan is red, put the sliced bacon diced into it, then put the potatoes, and finally pour the soaked rice in. If it is water, it will be just over 1 knuckle. When it is boiled, just simmer. During the process of braising the rice, Luo Xiahua did not idle, put the pig food cooked in the big saucepan into the wooden bucket, and the bucket after the pig pen was mentioned. Looking at the 2 fat pigs, Luo Xiahua didn't know why, but she felt like she wanted to touch her. It felt so strange, so she quickly poured the pig food into the pig trough, and then took a bucket and poured it into the pigsty next door, where the sows were fed. This time Luo Xiahua felt stronger. He clenched his fists with both hands, carried the barrel, and went back to the stove. Luo Xiahua was also a little frightened by this strange reaction. However, she also understands that she can do it again. It will definitely not be that simple. It's just that everyone else has space and abilities, and it doesn't help to lose a wonderful system, but what about her? It actually gave her a strange feeling that made her want to touch a pig. If this is known, she must not be immersed in a pig cage. Mom, there is a guest at home today, why is the cooking so delicious? A loud voice floated directly into the house from the yard. As soon as he heard this voice, Luo Xiahua didn't care about anything, and ran out quickly. It was just that she was fast, and there were others who were faster than her. Smelly girl, what are you doing in the kitchen house? Hurry back to bed and lie down on the bed. You don't learn every day, but you also learn from others to commit suicide. Why don't you go to heaven? Luo Xiaogang asked her to eat as soon as he saw Luo Xiahua unceremoniously. Got 2 chestnut heads. Brother, it hurts. When the head of the first chestnut came down, Luo Xiahua hurriedly covered her head with her hand. If I didn't hit you, I screamed for pain. Why would I even be afraid of death? Luo Xiaogang's face turned black. It's really that good things don't go out, bad things spread thousands of miles away. Luo Xiahua curled her lips. I really don't know who was talking too much, so that the big brother who left the old family's house came back. Brother, can I say that I was pushed down by someone, not a suicide? In order to be able to straighten her back and be a man in the future, Luo Xiahua decided to speak out her 6th sense. I was pushed down? Then which one did you say? I'll find someone for you. Luo Xiaogang is not domineering regardless of his name, he is a very protective man. The 5 brothers and sisters of the Luo family love each other, and they never fight inwardly. No matter which one is bullied, they are all dispatched. They are truly invincible. The 5 brothers and sisters can really walk sideways in this village. However, their 5 siblings are not the kind of people who love doing nothing. They are all provoked by others, and they will all come out to deal with others. Since childhood, the eldest brother Luo Xiaogang has grown stronger, and he is older than them. He has always been their backbone. If something happens, he will go to him. Therefore, since childhood, Luo Xiahua also regarded her eldest brother as the most powerful person. Big brother, I have grown up, you don't care about this world, I will solve it. She has grown up, if she has been attached to her brothers, then she will never grow up. By the way, Xiaoyu and Tian Tian are still at grandma's house, right? You just came back. Sister-in-law is not angry? Who else told you that I committed suicide? It's not that Luo Xiahua underestimated the power of this person, but the sister-in-law's wife still wants it. You can reach it by turning over 2 mountains. It is impossible to reach it at this moment. You don't care who said it. Just tell me which one of you pushed you, and I'll go to him to settle the account. Luo Xiaogang is also a quick-witted person, otherwise he wouldn't rush back for this matter. Not good. Luo Xiahua, who has a keen sense of smell, ran into the stove immediately. It's okay, okay. Uncovering the lid, I saw that the bottom of the pot was a little muddy, and the heart of holding it relaxed. This rice is precious. If it is ruined, her mother will have to red her ears. Come. Where did Mom and the old man go? You made this meal? It looks pretty good. It's not that Luo Xiaogang doesn't look down on his mother's meal, but she cooks everything he eats since childhood, so said that he could recognize the food that his mother cooked at a glance. In fact, the food that my mother cooked is really not good. Now that he sees this delicious meal, he can't help but vomit. I made the meal. Mom accompanied my dad to the health clinic to see a doctor. Did you not have lunch yet? Or do you fill up your stomach first, and we will have dinner when your parents come back? Luo Xiahua still did not treat herself. Dad told me about the dizzy things, otherwise she was really afraid of being beaten by her eldest brother. Then, did Lu Jianmin come to see you? I heard that they are going to return to the city now. What are you going to do? It's not that he thinks it's not good to marry in the city, but that he can't get used to Lu Jianmin's wicked eyebrows. The second sister is because she didn't choose a good target, and she is always disgusted in her husband's house. Although she has not told her family, every time she goes home and sees her worried look, she knows that she is living unhappy. Therefore, he felt that in the younger sister's marriage, reading www.yuyuganshu.com can no longer be sloppy. I just finished feeding the chickens, thinking that my eldest brother wouldn't ask about it anymore, but I didn't expect what I was really afraid of. She didn't know how to answer this matter. Although she remembered how she was pushed down the river, she didn't know why, and she didn't know anything about what happened before she jumped into the river. You said something. The conditions in our family are not bad. If you really like it, I will support it. If you don't like it, please make it clear earlier. Don't bet on your own marriage events just because you are angry with the old guys. Although he was busy working in his mother-in-law's house during this period, he knew everything about the younger sister. My parents wanted to betroth her to the Xiao family, but the younger sister disagreed, especially when they knew that the two of them were baby lovers who were married by their belly. They disagreed with the marriage. Later, she didn't know what was going on. She was crying to marry Lu Jianmin, who was about to return to the city. Originally, he thought things would pass like this, but he didn't expect that the little girl would be pushed down the river. This thing seemed to be getting more and more mysterious. Brother, I have said so many times, I am not suicide, I was pushed down the river, why don't you believe me? Luo Xiahua really feels a headache, it seems she really jumped this time. I can't clean it even when I enter the Yellow River. I don't believe it. Before I went to your sister-in-law's house, you didn't oppose this marriage, and you had to marry Lu Jianmin. But when you look at it, even if you didn't jump by yourself, you fell into the river after all. Did he come to see you? You said that such a man is really worthy of your liking. Luo Xiaogang's marriage is the words of his parents' matchmaker. He thinks that marriage is a process that is similar to anyone else, but the premise is it's looking right to the eye. Of course it's worth it. Big brother Xiahua likes me, and I like her too. Hearing this familiar voice, Luo Xiahua exuded a strong anger from all over her body, and this man even had a face. When Lu Jianming opened the curtain and came in, Luo Xiaogang directly punched him. You TND can't protect your own women. What are you talking about getting married? I tell you, stay away from my sister from now on. The strong Luo Xiaogang, in front of the thin Lu Jianmin, was like a big mountain, knocking him to the ground at once. Originally, Lu Jianmin, who was dissatisfied with Luo Xiaogang's words when he entered the house, was still planning to trouble him, but he was beaten up all at once. Brother, do it lightly. Seeing Lu Jianmin who was knocked down on the ground, Luo Xiahua also shivered. The strength of the eldest brother is not something ordinary people can bear. I said why you are still like the stone in that pit, smelly and hard. How many times have I told you that this man is not worthy of your liking, so don't mess with him anymore. Originally, Luo Xiaogang wanted to follow the younger sister's wishes and let her choose her future husband, but seeing her husband so weak, the scale in her heart immediately went wrong again. Sigma? Although the eldest brother's words are a bit unacceptable, Luo Xiahua feels warm in her heart. Her elder brother is too domineering. He is really satisfied with such a brother who loves him. He told others that there are still 2 brothers who have not come back. If they came back, they would definitely give her a bad breath. Long time ago, she wanted to punch Lu Jianming severely. If it weren't for this man, she would never return in the last life, let alone drag her family. As long as she thinks of her elder brother and her daughter falling in a pool of blood before she wakes up, her heart hurts and it makes her feel hard to breathe. She is also very clear about what he did. If he hadn't been suppressing the family's business, how could parents and elder brothers and 2 brothers fail to do anything smoothly? All this man. It's just that now she doesn't want to arouse his suspicion, even if she wants to break up with him, she will have to ruin him. This man is too cunning, and most people can't deceive him at all. It takes a lot of effort to reveal his true colors. Brother, I told you that I am not committing suicide, so it is not a matter of Jianming at all. Luo Xiahua was still facing her elder brother when she was speaking, winking her eyebrows, hoping that he would not interfere with this matter anymore. She had her own sense. Yes, elder brother, Xiaohua is really not suicide. I am still a little confused about this matter. Lu Jianmin heard Luo Xiahua's words and immediately became fascinated. He covered his eyes with his hands and got up from the ground fearfully. Lu Jianmin is still a bit young compared to more than 10 years later, not so mature. Seeing Luo Xiaogang beat him up, he didn't know how to fight back. Luo Xiaogang is an out-and-out rural person. He has been doing physical work since he was a child, while Lu Jianmin is a city man. Since he was a child, he studied hard and then went to college. Trembling. It's just that he is a person who is pleasing to people, even if it's so painful to stand up, he still pulls out the most ugly smile. For his reaction, Luo Xiahua knows well that he doesn't know anything, but he can bear it most. By the way, Jianmin, I remember that before I dived, the 2 of us seemed to be arguing about something, and there seemed to be someone beside me. Did you see who pushed me down? Luo Xiahua also didn't remember the scene very clearly. Because it was indeed a bit messy at the time, and she seemed to be a little dizzy at the time, anyway, she didn't have any impression of how she fell. Although she was asking Lu Jianmin, she also knew that he could not tell her the truth. She is also knocking on the mountain now to see if she can find the answer from him. This, I don't know. Lu Jianmin's dodge look made Luo Xiahua intuitively feel that this matter is tricky. I don't know, you dare to tell Lao Tzu that you don't know, you tell Lao Tzu honestly today, or I will let you go around. Unlike Luo Xiahua, who has a gentle temper, his temper is more irritable. In that case, seeing Lu Jianmin being so evasive, you know that he must know some inside information, so he immediately looked at him viciously and said, and when he spoke, he squeezed his fists and creaked. "Brother Luo, I really don't know, I really don't know." Lu Jianming found that the situation was not right, and immediately ran outside. That embarrassing look made Luo Xiahua see black lines all over his head. This man was so embarrassed. "Look at you, this is the man you are fancy to, this kind of scum is worth choking with your parents." Luo Xiaogang blew his beard and stared with anger. "Brother, you reading www.yuyuganshu.com is just like you, and I am afraid that we are not afraid of you." Luo Xiahua shook her head. "There are only a few men like him who are afraid of him. It's just that the eldest brother is just like you, so you are not afraid that your sister will not be able to marry in the future." Of course, this is a joke, but Luo Xiaogang takes it seriously, but he is not angry. "I told you that what I want is the result. If you want to marry you, a man who can't even pass this level of mine, don't even want to marry you in the door." Luo Xiahua doesn't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but for her now, it doesn't really matter. If she marries a man like Lu Jianmin, she might as well not marry. After the two brothers and sisters cleaned up the stove, they heard something outside and went out immediately. "Mom, Daddy is okay." Luo Xiahua knew that it must be Mom and Dad who came back. It's just that Dad limped a little while walking, and Luo Xiahua immediately became worried. "It's okay, it's because of penicillin. It was not like that when you were a kid." Following her daughter's gaze, Zhu Huifang knew why her daughter said this. "Did you two have dinner?" "Xiaogang, you come back, did your mother-in-law say anything? Did they finish their work?" Although Zhu Huifang is a famous shrew with a radius of several hundred miles, she is the most reasonable. A pungent spirit is only for those who are doing nothing wrong. Especially for her in-laws, she is too generous. Even if her son and daughter-in-law go to help, she has no opinion at all. The main reason is that she has a lot of hard work, 3 sons and a husband, and the brothers of the mother-in-law's family. There are many sisters. As long as there is something, you can finish it in minutes. "I ate a bowl." The little girl was worried that you didn't eat. Her mother didn't say anything. When she heard the letter from others, she rushed me back and have a look. In fact, Luo Xiaogang was also very anxious in his heart. "I fell several times on the road." In this world, not only is the white-haired person giving the black-haired person pain, but the black-haired person sending the black-haired person is also suffering. Then you quickly eat your words, ride your bike, and write back to your mother-in-law and the others. Your little sister is fine, so don't worry about it. You'd better also say that she didn't commit suicide, she accidentally fell into it. It's in the river. Although she wouldn't believe this, she couldn't ruin her daughter's reputation, or else she would find her husband's house in the future. "Mom, I know how to measure. Besides, the younger sister has already told me that she did not commit suicide, but was pushed down by others. However, when I came back to resolve this matter, it was actually bullied on my Luo family. I want to let they can't eat it and walk around. If you don't power, you won't know that the sky is thick." Judging from Lu Jianmin's reaction just now, he must know the person who pushed the little girl down into the river. However, there is no evidence at present. Luo Xiaogang did not tell his guess. If Mom and Dad learn about it, they will definitely make a noise. If no one is found by that time, then they will not become clowns. In the eyes of others, they are just making excuses for the younger sister's affairs. Want to cover up the scandal? Isn't it suicide? Zhu Huifang was dumbfounded, feeling that she had just gone out and bowed to her knees, and swallowed in vain. "Yes, it's not suicide. Mom, you don't understand the daughter you gave birth to yourself. I haven't lived enough yet. How can I commit suicide?" I opened my eyes and said nonsense, but it was not vague at all. Luo Xiahua couldn't help but want to slap herself a few times when she talked. Isn't it just a divorce or being dumped by a man? Is it really important to have parents? For a man who had known her for less than 10 years, she said goodbye to her parents and asked them to send white-haired people to black-haired people. This kind of unfilial behavior, she could do it. Thinking about it now, it really feels ridiculous. Especially during the 10 years of wandering in the world, I saw him marry other women and have children, and because his parents looked at him when they were young, they suppressed them, caused their business to plummet, and finally turned a blind eye to the injured daughter, so ruthless. The unjust man, she actually chose to commit suicide for him. Thinking about it now, she really feels that she is a joke. This is a quick behavior that makes the loved ones hurt the enemy, and I am afraid that only stupid people like her can do it. In this world, there is a couple of people who live together for life and grow old to life. That is all for those who are healthy. One of them is really going to happen, and some of them can keep loneliness. Anyway, she Luo Xiaohua's life, I really look down on love. Who knows? I thought you had a pit in your head and didn't take what we said seriously, Luo Xiaohua. Let me tell you, if you dare to do something like this again, we will cut off the relationship first and assume that you are not born. This daughter, after severing the relationship, you can do whatever you want. It has nothing to do with us. Zhu Huifang's tears flowed down as she spoke. The shock that my daughter brought to her today is something she has never experienced in her life. On the way back, she was still thinking about how to open this mouth to her today and how to persuade her not to be horny. Mom! Luo Xiaohua stretched out her hands and hugged her tightly. She knew that what her mother was talking about was angry. After she committed suicide in her previous life, her mother cried faintly by the river and died of fainting several times. After waking up from being pinched, she continued to cry. It was such a hard piece of land that she was forced by her. The cry of heaven and earth created a big pit. At that time, she regretted it, but at this time there was everything, but there was no regret medicine. She tried to speak loudly so that her mother would not be sad and cry. She also tried to get back to the wet body, but everything was to no avail. She was still floating in the air. Just like this, she wandered around every day, and went home to see when she was tired, but the world at home did not last long, because she was afraid that her yin anger would hurt her family. In the drifting years, looking at the increasingly prosperous city, the desire in her heart is even greater. If she did not embark on the road of no return, she would be able to enjoy this happy life. Don't cry, you two. If this is heard by others, we may be arranged. Luo Dashan's tone finally eased after his daughter told the truth today. Although there are many children in the family, the children are the hearts of parents. Whichever is injured, they will feel distressed. Yet, don't cry. If you don't die in this catastrophe, you will have a blessing. Huahua is a blessed person. When you were born, the old monk in the village said, "You child, in the future, we will be rich and wealthy. It's just that this marriage event is a little bit turbulent. But if you cross this hurdle, nothing will happen." Zhu Huifang reminded Luo Xiaohua that she was not a person who believed in Buddha and worshipped God, but after this incident, she also had to believe that, perhaps as the old monk said, she would become rich after crossing that hurdle. It's a pity that she didn't cross that hurdle. Knowing that Luo Xiaohua did not commit suicide, the gloom in everyone disappeared. Because Luo Dashan was treated with penicillin, his legs and feet were still a bit inconvenient, and Luo Xiaohua got it for meals. I found that Huahua has grown up suddenly, and this cooking skill can catch up with the chefs in the city. Dad, you can bury me. Just this rough tea and light rice can be compared with the chefs in the city. Besides, you don't seem to have eaten in a restaurant in the city, right? The restaurants are all state-owned, and those who don't have a lot of money are reluctant to eat. I haven't seen pork or pigs running. I've been at their door. Just by smelling it, I know what they are cooking and whether they are doing well. Yes, your old man's nose is too good, I am willing to go downhill. Besides, my good craftsmanship is inherited from you. In addition to being the village chief, her father is also a chef in the village. This village head is not paid. At most, he is given more points when sharing the food. Just like the doctors in the health clinic, he is not paid. Therefore, apart from working on matters outside the village, Dad also has a craft, which is to organize banquets. Every household is looking for him for banquets. The charge is not high, that is, he is given a red envelope or something. However, these are side jobs. The main thing is to dig land and farm, or else where can the family find food and drink? Asterisk. Asterisk. I said you father and daughter, don't flatter each other there, people who don't know think we are eating big fish. Zhu Huifang couldn't help laughing when she heard the conversation between the father and daughter. Is a stewed rice with bacon and potatoes, and then a sour radish soup, ordinary home cooking, and talk about the craftsmanship, all 3-year-old children can make. This is big fish and meat. As long as we are healthy, even ordinary home-cooked dishes can be eaten. If this family lacks one person, even if it is a delicacy, it will not taste that taste. Although Dad didn't say anything afterwards, Luo Xiahua already understood it. Dad, then you can eat more of the delicacies from the mountains and the sea. You see, the meat is delicacies, and the soaked radish is the delicacy from the sea. I fished it out of the sea for you. Luo Xiaogang was originally a cheerful person. Dad's words were immediately accepted. What said, the people next to him couldn't help laughing. Smelly boy, I think you won't be beaten for 3 days, you are about to go to the house to reveal the tiles. Luo Dashan pretended to be angry and looked at his eldest son. You are the old man. You said it was the delicacies of the mountains and the sea. I blamed my son at this moment. I think this is indeed the delicacies of the mountains and the sea. I heard that the sea water is salty. This radish is just right. I've been busy for a long time to eat quickly. I don't know if it was her illusion. She felt that her daughter actually fell into the river once and became more capable. The meal was so well done that she couldn't help but want to start a meal. However, before she started the meal, she still saw her husband move the chopsticks, so she started to move the chopsticks. Although men and women are equal in the Luo family, Zhu Huifang, who is born in a scholarly family, still maintains the order of husband first, wife second. Whether it is eating or doing other things, he is always the first. Will overstep the rules. Luo Xiahua disagrees with this, thinking that men and women are now equal, and there is no order of priority. However, Zhu Huifang disagrees, and even teaches her daughter that after she marries, she must regard her husband as the sky. Her husband is the backbone of the family and there can be no mistakes. If something happens to a man, the family lacks yang qi. It is likely to fall. After a meal, Luo Xiahua cleared the table first, and picked up the broom to clean every corner. And Luo Xiaogang took a long flashlight and rushed to the old mother's house. He went this time to report the letter, so that they don't worry about it. His sister has nothing to do, and she has to advertise to the villagers. His sister fell into the water, not committing suicide at all. But since the younger sister is fine, his pace is brisk, which is in sharp contrast to when he came. After finishing cleaning up Luo Xiahua in the house, he drove the last chicken into the chicken pen, and went back to the house to sleep after washing up. What happened on this day has left her still in the mist. If it weren't for a strong touch, she would still think it was a dream. Because of an accident with their daughter, Zhu Huifang and his wife were also very frightened. After returning to the room, they fell asleep. Across the 2 curtains, Luo Xiahua could hear her father's snoring sound. In this small mountain village, everyone will go home as soon as it gets dark. At most, the incandescent lamp will be lighted at night. At other times, we will work in the dark and eat in the dark, just to save a little money. At this time, a little bit of yellowing light is good, let alone any entertainment. Therefore, every family would go home as soon as it gets dark, eat and wash their faces, wash their feet, and sleep. Luo Xiahua was lying on the bed tossing about and couldn't fall asleep. Today's things are too mysterious, she has to sort them out, or else she's so confused, she didn't even figure out how to go out to see people. It's just that she hasn't figured it out yet, so other people will just start. His dad, have you heard that? The little girl of the Luo family committed suicide by jumping into the river, and she doesn't know whether it was life or death. This Luo family doesn't know if it was nothing wrong with what she did in the previous life, or else the daughter in his house didn't do anything wrong. I'll jump into the river. I heard that this water ghost is more terrifying than a hanged ghost. Luo Xiahua is very familiar with this voice. This woman is a household who lives next to their house, but this one is next to her parents' room. Luo Xiahua felt so strange that when her ears were so sharp, she could hear voices from such a distance. The things that surprised her are still behind. I said you belong to a woman's family, so don't make any irresponsible remarks. No matter how they say, Lao Luo is also the village head. You said you arranged here, if their family knew. Come on, you think I don't know this? When I came back, I saw that the couple went to the health clinic. I didn't even ask. I just came back to chat with you. You read www.yunsha.com. You tell me if this old Luo is a criminal, or else he won't go to the health clinic. Their family has had a hard time in the past few years, and there are 3 other children who have not married. I am willing to go to the health clinic to get medicine. I think he was mad at his daughter and raised such a girl. He shouldn't have been born at that time. Fortunately, there are 3 stinky boys in my house. If this is the case, I will not die. The woman's words made Luo Xiahua also feel traumatized. It seems that suicide can't be done in the future, not for herself, but also for her parents to avoid being pierced in the backbone. Other people's affairs, you care so much about what to do. There are a few things in this household that are easy to live by. We can take care of our own affairs. Hurry up and take advantage of the children's sleep, and the 2 of us, hee hee. The man laughed. Let Luo Xiahua fight a cold war, but her thoughts were also collected. Luo Xiahua, when did you start listening to the corner? She patted her face with her hand, and Luo Xiahua was not surprised by this magical thing. Wandering for so many years, she has never seen anything, and she has also heard of a person suddenly summoning a magical ability. For example, a movie she once watched seemed to be called 10 Brothers. They were all made from a single bead. The 10 brothers became bigger as soon as they were blown. Everyone was born with abilities. From big to small, they were clairvoyance, downwind ear, Dolly 3, Yingpi 4, Feishan V, Iron Tou 6, Jiajiao 7, Dundee 8, Big Mouth 9, and Shouting 10, each of them relies on their natural talents to work together to overcome danger. Therefore, Luo Xiahua is not at all curious about being able to hear other people. She is not a little girl of 2 or 3 years old, so this kind of thing still doesn't scare her. After listening to the conversation between the couple, Luo Xiahua still feels uncomfortable. Zheng Jin asked her parents to send a white-haired person to a black-haired person because of her stupidity. Looking up at the sky outside from the glass on the roof, the round moon is like a pointing light in the night, illuminating the road ahead for those who don't know the direction in the dark. She, who hadn't been sleepy at first, gradually entered her dream. As a result, when she was sleeping soundly, she was directly picked up. Which tortoise dare to disturb my dreams? Luo Xiahua didn't open her eyes, and struck her directly with a punch. Oh, why are you so strong? The man yelled in pain, and immediately let go of Luo Xiahua with both hands. I think you still like tossing people, now you kick it on the chopping board. Then another man's voice sounded, and the words were full of gloating. Brother 3, Brother 4, why are you back? Luo Xiahua opened her eyes when the first voice sounded. She thought she was dreaming, but she didn't expect it to be true. Hey, 5th sister, it's too big a difference if you don't take you like this. Luo Fourth was mad with jealousy. He gave Wu Mei a hug and was beaten by her, but the third brother didn't have to do anything. Wu Mei took the initiative to hug him. Humph, who told you to always bully me? Luo Xiahua made a face at Luo Lao Si, and stretched out her hand to play directly in the third brother's purse. Don't touch it, I'm too anxious to come back, I didn't buy you something delicious. Luo San shook his head helplessly, his own sister is still so greedy. I said why you are so good to the third brother. I originally wanted to see what he brought you to eat. I said that the fifth sister, you are not too young. It is so delicious. What should I do if I can't get married in the future? Be an old girl for a lifetime, right? Luo Si watched that there was nothing wrong with him, and sat down on the half-barrel, joking with Erlang's legs. Dog can't spit out ivory, is Luo Xiahua like that kind of person? I tell you, if Luo Fourth, if you dare to curse me for not getting married, I will curse you not to marry a daughter-in-law and be a bachelor for a lifetime. The two of us will take care of the old man. If you want to be beautiful, the old man doesn't want you to take care of you. Just take care of your thin arms and legs. You can take care of yourself, and you can give them back to take care of them, regardless of whether you have that ability. Luo Si, you are itchy, let's see how I clean up you. Luo Xiahua rolled up her sleeves and hit Luo Si. Luo Xiahua, you little shrew. The long-lost laughter rang again in this low-thatched cottage. Zhu Huifeng also smiled when he heard the siblings playing in the room. Look, people who are almost 40 years old together, they are still playing around. You, just have fun. Luo Dashan gave his wife a blank look, then turned his head and continued to rub the corn flour in his hands. Mom, help! The two brothers and sisters made a fuss from the inside, and Luo Xiahua couldn't stand the tickling, so she hid beside her mother for protection. Don't bother you two, this early in the morning, others thought something happened to my house. Zhu Huifeng looked at the two brothers and sisters dumbfoundedly. Luo's fourth child is Luo Xiaoyi. He and Luo Xiahua are 1 year apart. Since childhood, the two of them really have had a lot of fights, and the relationship between the two is getting deeper and deeper. However, no matter how they fight between the two brothers and sisters, the one who fears most is Luo Boss. As the biggest brother and sister, Luo Xiaogang is a veritable eldest brother. This person has a good spirit at happy events. My family is full of joy. Mom, don't you think that these days are much better than that of peace and quiet? Luo Lao Si's temperament has to be a little better since he was a child, but he is the one who suffers the most beatings. That one. Yes, yes, the good and the bad are all from your mouth. Your two brothers haven't come back for a long time. Your dad will roll the tortillas for you. You go and sweep the pigsty first. I just cleaned up the chicken coop. This will change the season soon, and the smell is heavier and you can smell it everywhere. Mother Luo arranged things, but it was not at all ambiguous. Where is the fifth sister? What does he do? Luo Laozi asked his own question habitually. As soon as his words came out, Luo Hua jumped angrily. The fourth brother in his own family always likes to use her to cushion her back. Luo Si, you are arranging me again, right? Luo Xiahua has never been a person who is afraid of people. She has been arrogant with her fourth brother since she was a child, and it has long since become natural. I didn't arrange you, I wash the pigsty, and you flush me. They did this arrangement together since childhood, so Luo Xiahua really didn't have any refutation. Along the way, Luo Xiahua couldn't wait to poke a hole in the back of the fourth brother. This girl is too awkward to punch. No wonder he can't find a girlfriend. Just his mouth, if he doesn't change it, he is still a bachelor. Luo Lao, I said you can't think about it that way. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com jumped into the river for a weak chicken. Doesn't that man seem as good as me? Luo Laozi and Luo Laosan did not come back for no reason. Yes, there is a reason. So, as soon as Luo old Si arrived at the pigsty, he put his hands on the wall and stared at Luo Xiahua with both eyes. I think you are a weak chicken. That Lu Jianmin looks 100 times better than you. Look at your beard, you look like a 30-year-old uncle. Ouch, just talk, what are you doing with my beard? Luo Lishi trembled with pain. His fifth sister is good at everything, but it's too rude. I said you didn't force the marriage to succeed, take my breath away. Luo Si ran to Luo Xiahua's room as soon as she entered, so she didn't know anything about her being pushed down the river instead of committing suicide. Therefore, he thought she committed suicide by jumping into the river because she forced her parents to agree. Which makes you nonsense. Luo Xiahua is living well. How can I commit suicide? Do you think I am a suicide? In order not to be looked down upon by others, Luo Xiahua must clean her own stains. Or else their family would be embarrassed, and the two older brothers were not married. Don't even be able to marry a daughter-in-law because of her, then her guilt is really serious. So, no matter who mentioned it, she wouldn't admit it to death. Isn't suicide? Luo old Si looked at Luo Xiahua with thick eyebrows and big eyes. After a while, he let out a terrifying laugh, ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. It's not just suicide, it's not suicide, you know, don't you know, when I come back this way, I am really worried that there will be no one to quarrel with me in the future. Luo Xiahua is full of black lines. In the eyes of the fourth brother, feelings for her are a function of bickering. I said the fifth child, why are you so unlucky? Why did you fall into the river and was said to have committed suicide again? Do you know that, when Lao Du told me, I was so anxious that I thought I saw him? It's not your last time. The old Du in Luo's mouth is a good brother of his. The two are brothers in open crotch pants. After knowing that Luo Xiahua had an accident, they rode a bicycle to find him. As a result, Luo Laozi followed his master to Dongcheng again to sew clothes for people. By the time he found him, it was almost dawn. It's also fate. Those who just happened to sew clothes in Dongcheng were the two masters and apprentices. Just ask, you can know where they came from. Otherwise, if you really wear your feet, you can't find them. I mean, why you came back so early, don't you pretend to have a good heart with me, you don't know if I am dead. Although Luo Xiahua was full of emotion when he heard the words of the fourth brother, but in order not to make the fourth brother feel uncomfortable, she learned to tease him as before. I think you are hanging by a toad eating cow pea. You are not serious about such a big thing. Many people are drowned in that river every year. I don't know how many ghosts are looking for a substitute. I'll give it to you. Say, you don't want to go to the riverside to play with me in the future. It's the best. From childhood to most of the time, they were together. When they were young, they still slept on the same bed. When the beds were separated, Luo Xiahua cried and fainted several times. Pack up, if I drown, where do you go to clean up? I will tell you all, let you teach me to swim. Why did you go one by one? You all said that I am a girl and can't swim, this is fine, accidentally fell into the water and almost drowned. Swimming is something that Luo Xiahua wanted to learn from a young age. But I didn't want to, because my parents were too feudal, they just refused to let my brother teach her to swim. Listening to you, it seems that I was the one who was wrong. Luo Xi's eyes narrowed. However, I heard that in addition to that weak chicken Lu Jianmin, Lu Yan was also there. You three said something, you have to run to the river, that place is so dangerous. Du Zhang took Luo Xiahua's incident. Both before and after telling Luo Lao Si, that is, people don't know if there is nothing wrong. To be honest, this Du Zhang is still very good, and he has worked so hard to report to Luo Lao Si. This is something ordinary people can't do. I heard that someone who passed the road rescued you, otherwise you really died, but I don't know which kind person it is, we should still come to thank you. Luo Si has heard about it before and after Wu Mei fell into the water. Du Zhong said. Come on, it's better not to find someone. If I find it, I don't know how to speak. Shi Luo Ziahua is not a hypocritical person, but let her face a man who rescued her from the water. And in the weather like late summer, she really didn't have that face. Especially knowing that in order to save her life, that man gave her artificial respiration, so that she really was. Think about it, this matter is hard to say, it's better not to meet, if they meet, she doesn't know how to face it. It's okay to promise with your body, such a man is hard to come across in 1,000 years. Luo Old Si patted his thigh and said without hesitation. You're looking for death. Luo Ziahua was sad and angry, and she stood up and slapped him on the head. She didn't dare to go out today. If she went out, the rumors in the village would definitely fly towards her. What I'm saying is true. Du Zhong said that Tang Xiadai said that the man looks pretty, and based on your appearance, he is actually a good match for him. Luo Si knew that the fifth sister was not suicide. She also became more relaxed, teasing her while cleaning the pigsty. I think it would be better if I let the water shine on you. Luo Ziahua shook the water pipe in her hand. This was her weapon since childhood. If the fourth brother bullied her, she would directly flush him with water. No matter how they fight, they can't hurt their feelings. Don't, your brother, my clothes are still newly made. Luo Laozi patted his head. Why didn't he change his clothes today and come to wash the pigsty? What's new is what's new, it's a big deal if it gets dirty and it will be washed after a while. As soon as Luo Ziahua said this, Luo Si immediately exploded. You little conscience, what is new is what is new, your brother and I have no money, where can I buy new clothes? Luo Lashi is still an apprentice now, except for giving money to the master. This is the new year during the festival, I will also bring some meat or noodles to master. So, there is no extra money to buy clothes. Compared to Luo Si was much better. He learned from his grandpa as a carpenter. Not only did he not have to pay tuition, but he also had a lot of pocket money. The money he earned could be given to him every year. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com. Originally Luo Si was also going to learn carpentry, but he had no interest in that, and he refused to follow. The family has no choice but to rely on him. Fourth brother, just trust me. After a few years, I will let you wear new clothes every day. She hasn't been in vain for so many years. She has learned a lot, not to mention making millions. 100,000 can still be earned, and there will be no problem in buying a few new clothes for the family at that time. Just blow it up, anyway, I won't believe it. If you have the ability, I will tell your last name. Luo Lashi is used to quarreling with Luo Ziahua. No matter what she says, she will refute a sentence or two anyway. You and my last name is not Luo, Luo Fourth, you just wait for that day to see if I have that ability. Many things in this world are only if you are willing to pay. As long as you are willing to spend money, this money will come naturally, and vice versa is another matter. Luo Ziahua has realized many things over the years. You two are still grinding here. I washed all the chicken pens by myself, but you only washed one. Luo's pig pen has 4 compartments, but currently only 2 are used, one for fattening during the new year of the pig, a raised sow lays down piglets. Knowing that these 2 will be together, it will keep going, so Luo San came to them as soon as he finished his work. Brother 3 is so fast. Luo Ziahua grinned. Anyway, their brothers and sisters often have such things. Because he and his fourth brother are small and not much different, they usually do things a little bit slippery. The eldest brother, the second sister and the third brother above, because they are older than them, they are also more diligent in doing things. Many times they have done the same thing, but they still have a lot of things left to do.